On this episode of Athletic Training Chat, we have part two of our series with the Athletic Trainers in Physician Practice Society with Tara and Aaron, who really head up the two educational arms of the society. One really focused on the annual meeting, which is coming up in February. Check that out at atpps.org. And then the other really focusing on the year-round content and what they've done. So they just share a lot of what they've learned across the process of creating the content, how they've adopted and adapted to new things as they've come up from member feedback, and really the importance of doing that, and how it has been beneficial to the entire society, membership, and everyone else included. So we really focus on that, highlighting what they're doing coming forward, and truly appreciate them sharing that. As always, thank you to Mueller Sports Medicine for their support of the podcast, also to Healthy Roster and their support of the podcast as well, and also just the profession in general. And a quick word from our parent company, Clinically Press, and to the episode.
Check out the Clinically Press Company shop for free resources on performance, nutrition, recovery, and sample training blocks. These resources can be great for athletic trainers who just haven't had the time to put them together for themselves. All are free, no payment information required. Check them out at clinicallypressed.org/shop. Clinically Press Company, making the complicated simple through results that give back.
Well, welcome to this episode of Athletic Training Chat. We are on with our second episode with the Athletic Training and Physicians Practice Society, this time focusing on education, both with the upcoming conference, but also what they do year round. So if you are in this setting or curious about this setting and have looked into this organization, this will be a great opportunity to learn more about what they offer, and how it can benefit you in your career. But before we jump into all of that, I just wanted to turn over first to Tara to just give her an introduction of herself, both and as a member of ATPPS and also as an athletic trainer. So, Tara.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So I'm excited to be here today, obviously representing ATPPS. I'm currently the secretary. I'm also a founding board member. In athletic training, I've worked in a variety of settings, everything from high school to sports medicine and orthopedic surgery. Currently, I'm working in program management. And I'll turn it over to Aaron to introduce himself.
Yes, thanks. Again, thank you for having us. Aaron Hajart, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Community Medical Center in Toms River, New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore. And I've been here about a year or so, but found my way from athletic training, probably 15 plus years ago, and still certified and still active as an athletic trainer, but just doing different things. Serve on the board for ATPPS, and I'm the board liaison for our annual meeting, and look forward to talking about what we have to offer.
So on the first one, we talked just about the history and how ATPPS got started. Talked a little bit about the educational side, but kind of left it very surface level, and just the needs that the whole organization was addressing. But what came out of that from my end was the importance of the educational aspect of it, and not just for the conference, but year round. We were just talking beforehand how you both head up kind of those two different areas separately. So here, if you wouldn't mind starting with you, if just kind of the background of how the year round came to be, the focus of it, and what the main goals are of that aspect of the organization.
Sure. So one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is member feedback. And I think you're going to hear that theme as Aaron and I speak to how education is determined, topics and events that we offer, is that we really value the feedback of our membership. The board is 10 people. We are not the entire society, so we do rely on our members and what their needs are in order to drive our initiatives. So one of the things we heard was, hey, I love coming to conference, but I can't come every year. And I wish that I could continue my education throughout the year on the years that it's not possible for me to make it to the annual conference. With that, we saw it's a heavy lift to offer these events either virtually or we would love to maybe do them in person, but virtually is what the option was our membership was looking for. So not that long ago, we decided to make 2 education committees, one that would solely focus on the annual conference. As you can imagine, it's a year-round commitment. It takes a lot of work from the annual conference committee to put on that annual conference. And I know Erin's going to speak to the work that they do. And we needed a separate group to focus on things that would be offered throughout the year. So really, this was based on member feedback that they wanted more education outside of that one day. That one day takes so much planning and effort from our board members, our committees, but it is one day. And the membership was looking for more opportunities outside of that.
And maybe Erin, we'll just have you give a little more history on the conference, and then we'll really focus on the coming up with content and how those are delivered after we get a little bit more background on the conference.
Yeah, the conference evolved a lot over the course of the life of ATPPS. Today, it's essentially 2 full days of regular workshops and then our regular lectures and so forth. And then we started early in the life cycle of ATPPS doing some workshops the day before the conference, which has grown from having 2 or 3 workshops into having 6 or 7 or 8 workshops. So all told, we have I think there's 39 or 40 different sessions, including the workshops. And this year, the core program is, I think, 24 CEUs, plus the CEUs available for workshops. It has people from around the country. Again, similar to what Tara had mentioned, we get a lot of feedback annually, but what we've learned over each conference is we learn something new, like something that I think we take back and are able to modify. We try to align it, more similarly to how you see, orthopedic surgery conference and stuff like that. We're trying to get away from 1 hour and a half lectures and trying to have more 30-minute sessions, 45-minute sessions, some panels and stuff like that. So it's definitely been an evolution, but it's great content. Even though I work in an administrative role, so often it can be hard for me as an athletic trainer to find things I'm interested in, but it's really a mix of practical skills to more kind of medical educational stuff to practice management. So pretty a wide array of different topics.
So the focus on content, sometimes, and it varies, I think, depending on the conference, there's a theme, that tries to kind of run through, but you get a few things with that. Is that something that you all focus on, or is it really just trying to find quality information, even if it's not always interrelated, to get out there to also provide that variety both at the conference, but also with those year-round educational opportunities?
Yeah, I think, for the annual conference, we've gone through different iterations where it was very thematic, and then we went to different tracks, which we've kind of settled on different tracks. We have, kind of an administrative track, and then, more of a clinical track. And then, this year and really last year as well, for the last 2 years, we've been really hypersensitive around the BCSO certification, the board certified specialist in orthopedics. I think I got the letters right. And putting content around that. And I think that has really helped us, kind of put some guardrails, because what we do as athletic trainers, it's so vast. I mean, it can be everything, that it's so vast that it can be nothing sometimes. So we've tried to align it, really closely to the BCSO certification process and those requirements, which I think has been a little easier to stay focused, I think, on what the athletic trainers are most interested in hearing. And then, the second part of that is to find speakers that are not just athletic trainers, but athletic trainers and physicians. I think we have one PT this year as well. We had a couple PAs last year. So there's a pretty good swath of professionals that come together. I think we're really excited this year. We have our friends in the Athletic Training Education Society, as well as the professional dance medicine group. I can never think of the
Performing
letters.
arts.
Performing arts, thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, Performing Arts Society are going to be joining us and having conferences in tandem with ours, but also doing some collaborative educational sessions for all of us to get together and hang out and learn together. So I'm real excited about this year.
Tara, what about the year round? Again, is it something that, you mentioned very distinct committees. Is there
Sure.
some, building off of each other with some of the things, or completely distinct tracks that you guys do with that? Again, a theme for the year that tries to go through, or how do you guys approach that?
Yeah, I mean, we get to kind of be a little more creative for the year-round education just because they don't necessarily have to build off of one another. Like our annual conference, this has gone through a lot of changes. And a lot of that based, again, on member feedback and about just providing the best service for our members. One of the changes that we're making specifically for January, and shameless plug, this will launch next week, is that our members really wanted the events to be asynchronous. So we were hosting them live at night. And the committee and I kept saying, gosh, we get so many people to register and nobody to attend. And we asked the membership and they're like, oh, something comes up at night, I forget about it, but I would love if I could have this on demand. So we shifted our focus and went on demand. What we do is we really try to look at what's being provided at the annual conference and stay away from those topics. We want to be touching different topics so that there is variety in the types of education that we're giving. We also really partner with residency programs and giving the opportunity to residents to present. So a lot of times it will be potentially case studies. That's always welcome. But sometimes it's just topics that our committee has a speaker for. So we had a couple of physicians present with their athletic trainer on a variety of topics. So we get to be a little bit more creative. They're not linked month to month. Sometimes we're also testing what topics are received by our membership. Like, hey, we're thinking about doing a deeper dive into DME or billing. And so we're going to test that with a lecture, in March and see how it does, get member feedback. And is this something that maybe we would do a mini series or have something else? So it's just an area where we can be a little bit more creative. But I really try to empower the committee to use their networks and people that are, have a specific education in a area that we can provide to the membership while staying away from topics that are going to be covered at our annual conference.
Yeah, I would just add, I had the privilege of leading that committee for the first year, and then I realized how big of a lift it was. So we were smart enough to,
Oh
ask.
yeah, move into the annual conference one, just a
Yeah,
walk in the park, I'm sure.
yeah. Well, I
Well,
was
to
doing
do
both.
both. He was
Yeah,
doing
Oh,
both.
I was an
Yeah.
idiot. Wasn't smart. But I think Tara's point is really good. Like the things that we kind of test in the annual, the year-round education. What we've seen is DME stuff is really hot. If we have a DME lecture, we'll have a great booking, and when we do that in an annual meeting, we do pretty well, but not as well. I mean, we really see that is a focus area that people really are attracted to. And so the other thing I would just another shameless plug, if there's people out there that, are interested in speaking, I think the one thing I know Tara and I, when I was, working that committee, struggled with is finding new and fresh speakers. And so,
Yeah.
we can always find great speakers, but, it's always great to give people different people experience and exposure. So always looking for people that are interested in getting on podium, whether it be virtual or in person, and sharing their knowledge.
one thing, and it probably goes more to the conference, with the labs and the workshops. Um, Obviously, things vary wildly from state to state in terms of licensure, practice acts, all of those things, skills. You know, with the focus on those, and being hands-on, is it more trying to introduce skills to then allow, an athletic trainer to follow up back when they get to work, or, maybe find someone else that could further those skills, or potentially, ultimately make it where you're teaching, I use this very loosely so nobody get mad at me, like proficiency in quotes, if you will. Like obviously it's hard to do in a, short and condensed time frame, but the focus there, things that I remember brought up, suture removal, maybe some practice with, musculoskeletal ultrasound imaging, things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, taking into account the practice acts, particularly the state that we're doing the workshop in, is important.
Yeah.
But so far,
Fair
we've been able
point.
to navigate those. It's been a kind of a mix. We've done some more entry level stuff. We did a entry level OR thing. Like this is the basics of how to scrub into an OR case, and then we've done very more advanced, surgical experiences. We do phlebotomy
Yep.
where, by the time you walk out of there, you should be prepared to, start doing, consistent training to be able to do blood draws. Where we done some fracture casting and stuff like that, where you walk out of the fracture workshop, you can absolutely cast. We did I think it was 2 years ago, I forget. We did some really complicated like bivalve casting workshops and stuff that were really, really well received. So it's really a mix. We try to have some more advanced ones and then some more basic. So this year, for instance, we're doing some radiology reads as part
Oh,
of
nice.
an advanced workshop. So by the time you get done with that 2 hour session, I think we're going to do a shoulder and a knee. You walk out of the shoulder one, you should have a very solid understanding of how to assess, MRIs and plain films, and be able to, not necessarily diagnose, but definitely direct the providers to whatever you're seeing on the patient. So, and then we're doing, a couple of kind of middle stuff, kind of mid-range. So, we're doing phlebotomy again. That's always a big one. Suture
I can
skills.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, suture skills was a big one as well last year. I think we've done sutures 3 years in a row or something like that.
At
Always
least.
well attended. So, you're going to be able to get out of that course and then with a little continuing practice, be able to do that stuff pretty proficiently.
So one that I think got kind of sent along by Jen, who wasn't able to be here, is um, the focus that you guys do with education, both at the conference and otherwise, versus kind of traditional, in quotes, AT events where, yeah, there's some of those things, but maybe not quite in depth. But how, what really is the key, which I think we've kind of highlighted, but if you could summarize it, to benefiting ATs that work in these different physician settings.
I think overall our content is just so much more tailored specifically for those currently practicing in a physician practice. So I think our annual conference specifically does two things really well. You are going to come out of that weekend with something you can use on Monday and something that you can use 6 months from now. So one of the things that I think we as the board have done a good job of is really looking at the members and their years of experience. So we have to keep evolving what we give as education as our membership evolves. So a couple of years ago, I can't remember exactly when, we noticed that we had a big gap in our membership. Many of them were practicing less than 3 years. And then there were folks who were practicing 5+ years. So many of them had moved on to administrative roles and they
Sure.
kept asking for more leadership development, more things tailored to having direct reports, managing people. How do I move into that? And then there were people who asked for the basic workshops. I have no idea how to enter an OR. I don't know what a sterile field is. And as our membership has evolved, we've evolved with that education. So we want them to be able to come out with a skill they could absolutely use in clinic on Monday, and then maybe prepare them for something that's 6 months down the road.
To be fair, Tara, I don't think if you told me to scrub into an OR case, I would know what to do either. But with that being said,
But did you
uh,
take the workshop?
I did not.
Okay,
It was on
so
the
I
board.
mean,
It was on the board meeting day. I couldn't go, but
I was the leg. I was the demonstrated leg, so I was laying there. Um,
It
so
is,
hard to
I
say.
think to Tara's point, it's a really unique conference. And I mean, I'm in, a hospital leadership role, so I don't really go to too many, clinical types of conferences anymore. But I think we took some things that we've learned and what I learned in in larger healthcare administrative conferences and taken those and kind of stitched them into the weave of the ATPPS meeting, which is shorter little sessions are better received. More focus on kind of nuggets of information than trying to be super comprehensive about a topic. We've tried to diversify to Tara's point. I think there's 9.5 credits of practice management type of stuff. There's roughly 10 credits of very procedural, tactical things you can do with your hands. And then there's 15 or 16 credits of kind of medical knowledge that we have at this upcoming conference. So we've tried to like hit everything so that if you're, like me, still an athletic trainer, but not actually practicing every day, having something to, be excited about, or somebody who is, still clinical, but is maybe, not in a surgical practice, or somebody that is in a surgical practice, having different content, I think really helps and makes people more enthusiastic about it. But, I give really all the kudos to the annual meeting committee. They have great ideas. They, when we get our abstracts submitted, they definitely push back on things where they feel we can tweak the topic a little bit to make it a better fit. And then, they're not afraid of maybe going rogue a little bit sometimes and having content that we wouldn't necessarily think of as being, a hot topic. For instance, I think it's been 3 years ago, we had somebody who put an abstract in to do an oncologic lecture, and I remember, thinking, I don't know about this. I'm not sure that this is going to be one that people will be very enthusiastic about, and got a lot of support from the committee, and it was a very one of the best attended lectures in the meeting. It resulted in having one or two oncology related topics last year, and then this year I think we have three. And so they're not afraid to think a little differently, and they're practicing it. The great thing about this crew is that they're all, practicing on a day-to-day basis. They're not like me, so far removed that I wouldn't necessarily know, good clinical care if it hit me in the face. But, having somebody, a group of young professionals who are there every day, I think has been great. And I know, I'll let Tara speak to it. I know her committee has some incredible expertise in really unique areas. And so having, kind of unicorn athletic trainers has really been a huge benefit for us.
No, I have to agree. I think that's one of the reasons why we, the board, have stepped away from making those committee level decisions, is because we want those folks to be able to drive, just like Aaron was saying. They have great expertise. They're currently practicing in a way that Aaron and I are not. And we want to make sure that they're heard, because they're probably a better representation of our membership than Aaron or I could be. And I think, again, empowering those folks to have a voice in our membership, and they're volunteers. We want them to be heard. And I think it's great. I love to see the diversity at the annual conference and with the lecture series year round, because I think one of the things we want to do is provide an educational experience that people don't find other places. And that I always think too, if we pick a topic that's maybe a little bit outside the box and it doesn't work, we don't pick it again. No big deal.
Yeah.
We give the opportunity to the membership to say yes or no.
Absolutely makes sense, and I'm sure people appreciate that, the test and retest, but also not just hanging on to something just to hang on to it when it comes to that. One other thing that kind of came up in the previous episode, but also kind of in our emailing back and forth, was the networking aspect. That was definitely was a topic on the first one at the conference, about different things, and they previewed in Louisville, and I said it
Mhm.
on that one. Been to that Howl at the Moon, good time, cool area. Um, for a wholly different reason I was there, but we were there. Um,
Sure.
what's the importance of that again, just from your perspective on the educational side, and then Tara, kind of on the year-round side? How do you, if there's anything you guys do to try and keep people connected and engaged in specific ways, especially now, moving forward to asynchronous. So Aaron, maybe if you want to start just talking about the conference and that aspect of it.
Well, I'm a professional networker, so I
Yes.
enjoy
Yes.
talking and having a drink or something in my hand. But I mean, Louisville, for those that haven't been, and I was surprised the first time I went how much I enjoyed the town. And there's a lot going on there. You don't think of Louisville as kind of a hotbed of nightlife, but it really is. And so, networking is always, as we know, for athletic trainers, very important, right? This is a culture of the profession, and it's always been the highlight of our annual meeting. And I think this year we have the opportunity to to eclipse any of the networking events that we've had so far. We have the dueling pianos from Howl at the Moon coming over to the
Mhm.
hotel to do a night with the membership, and we got to preview them in June, May, or June,
Yeah.
I think,
June.
June,
June.
and they were very good. It was a great time.
Mhm.
The hotel, I don't know if you've been to the hotel. Yeah, I think you've been to Louisville. The hotel is like literally right at the edge of kind of the closed down street, bar district, restaurant district area. And then, the hotel is in a great area, and you can walk to the Louisville Slugger Museum. You can
Also a
walk
good time.
Yeah, you can walk
Yeah.
to where all the bourbon distilleries are, and Tara knows more about that than I do. I'm not a bourbon guy, but it we had a great time when I went, and I know that anybody who's going to go is going to, of course, love, I think, the educational content, but will be incredibly surprised at how enjoyable Louisville is, whether it's fine dining, whether it's, catching a sporting event,
Mhm.
or, going to a local bar, going to, see live music. So there's a lot going on in Louisville, which, kind of makes the conference that much more enjoyable. But I'll let Tara speak to the bourbon. I think she may be the expert there.
I don't know. I'm definitely not the group expert. Maybe
Right.
I'm the expert on this call. But I think, one of the things that we wanted to do, again, kind of with like some historical context, is like get everyone out of the educational mind frame and just have them talk as ATs, as people, as attendees, and see what connections they can make. And I think, it's really easy to sit in your hotel room alone and like order Grubhub. But if we said, hey, we're gonna have food and a couple drinks and some live music here, come join us for an hour, everybody shows up. And that was one of the things that people consistently said, like, hey, this was actually fun. People, the attendees were lively, like I got to talk to some people, and it would just made the experience better. So that's something that we've carried throughout all of our conferences is that social aspect, networking aspect, that we really encourage attendees to talk to each other, get to know each other, exchange numbers. We've had many attendees be at every conference, and you can kind of see they're like, oh, hey, I can't wait to catch up with so and so. Let's go grab a drink. Let's go eat lunch together. So I think that's a really important aspect of our in-person conference.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that's new this year is having, the Athletic Training Education Society, and then having the professional
Performing arts.
performing
I got
arts.
it.
Thank you.
Cats.
I'll never be able to remember that. But having the Performing Arts Society there is going to be a very different experience. The athletic training educators were there last year as their first meeting. They joined us, and so having other athletic trainers there in fellowship, I think, will be a lot of fun. And I mean, the great thing about Louisville is it's this unique microcosm of kind of America. It has like literally everything. It has great, healthcare. It has great academic institutions, great nightlife, professional sports. It's really a very unique town, and we're really excited to be here. We've been to Boise a couple years. You've been to South Carolina, which was surprisingly fun. I actually really enjoyed South
Yep.
Carolina. Um, and is that the place that's it, right? Where else have we been at for annual meeting?
No,
That's it.
am I missing one? I think that's it.
No, I think we went Boise, South Carolina, Boise or something like that. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
this is
So we're
like,
expanding.
it's definitely out of our comfort zone. But
Yeah.
I think people really enjoy it.
And I think just so people know, we do a lot of market research on where our conference should be. So
Sure.
like Aaron was saying, like we specifically look for a place that's walkable, that has restaurants, that has nightlife, that's close to an airport so that our attendees have this overall experience that's really positive. We can put on the best educational conference in the world. If it's 2 hours from the airport and hotels are $500 a night, people are going to walk away and say, I'm not sure this is worth it.
Right.
So we really put a lot of emphasis on the member experience when it comes to the annual conference.
And then just to circle back on the networking, is there stuff guys try and do all year round to keep people engaged? Other, the educational things, but not necessarily the most networking things, especially when it's virtual and asynchronous as it's coming up.
Yeah.
But anything that you guys have attempted to do or hoping to do, just again to keep members engaged and interacting?
One of the things that we are looking to do more often is be present at other conferences. So having booths and connecting with membership that way, letting them know that like, hey, we are going to be at this regional conference. Hey, we're going to be at this state conference. So our members can come see us or just so we can get the word out.
Sure.
As far as like social connection on virtually, it's been a challenge, to be honest. We at first used like a forum platform and that kind of fell off. We have social media, but that's more for marketing, what's kind of coming for members
Right.
or for outside stakeholders. So
Yep.
I think that's been more of a challenge to be connected. But one of our goals is to be present at more other conferences throughout the year.
Makes sense. Anything we haven't covered when it comes to the educational focus, both, upcoming conference here and just over a month, be about a month by the time this is out, and, beyond when it comes to the education from ATPPS.
Tara, do you want to talk
I
about DME?
I do. I would love to. So we do have a new education initiative that actually launches tomorrow, which is going to be January 15th. I know this is going to launch a little bit after that. So we have a DME course that is also going to be asynchronous, available online, and it's going to go through the fundamentals of starting a DME program, as well as all the back end, things like insurance denials, coverage, documentation. It's really going to be a great benefit for those who work in DME, who need to be more educated in that space, or are trying to start their own DME program within a physician practice. So it's going to be online modules as well as a hands-on session. We're partnering with some of our DME sponsors and foundational partners to actually put on a hands-on workshop at the annual conference as part of that certificate. So it'll be all online plus a hands-on workshop where you can actually talk to the vendors about fitting, about customizing, about what needs to be documented. They're going to show off some of their new braces, as well as answer any questions about supply. They're going to be available on site for that. So we're really excited about that. This is a really big initiative that we've worked on this year, and I'm so proud of our team for really putting in so much work for this. Like I said, it's going to be launching tomorrow. It's available for members at a discounted price as well as non-members. It does include a hands-on session, but you have 2 years to complete that hands-on session for completion of the course. Again, just to reiterate, this came from a member who said, hey, there's not enough education in this space. I tried starting my own DME program and was grasping at straws, and no one's providing this. I really think that this is something that could be benefited. This could be hosted by ATPPS as well as some of our partners to help with that. So this was a member initiative that she was able to bring to us, and we were happy to partner with her and the committees to make happen.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. I mean, I earlier in my career when I ran orthopedic service lines and practices, DME was always like the sticky wicket that no one really ever knew enough about to be effective. And so having a certificate program that you can finish, in a relatively short amount of time, do at your own pace, have some really industry leaders doing the teaching and then having, some hands-on exposure. There's nothing like this out there. And this is an evolution. This is the first step in what we ultimately want to get to, which is more of a certification, not just a certificate, but, obviously a credential is kind of the vision, but getting, starting where we are today, I think is going to be the right move. And we've already had some great feedback on people interested in doing their certificate program, and I think this is going to be, based on the feedback we've gotten already from the content that we've delivered over the last few years. This is going to be incredibly well received, and we hope will maybe even surpass the amount of people who join us in person every year, and do this certificate program, in big numbers. I think it's there's just nothing else out there. So
Awesome. Anything else before we jump into a slightly modified version of the AT chat questions?
I think just Jen Catano could not join us today, but I wanted to make sure we mentioned her. She
Sure.
was our original education board, everything. Jen really built the annual conference from the ground up. She has laid down all of the framework that the rest of us follow. So she couldn't be with us today, but I wanted to make sure that we gave her credit because so much of it is credited to Jen.
absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, first one, both kind of in general and within the ATPPS, where do you see athletic training education going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Ladies first, Tara.
Good question. I was hoping Aaron would go first.
Oh, I can start. I can pontificate on anything.
No. I was thinking about it. Where I hope it goes is I hope there's a lot more soft skill development. I think
I like that.
in the role I'm currently in, it's really tough when you have a greatly skilled clinician with no soft skills.
Sure.
They don't do well. They don't do well on a team. And I think part of being an AT is about collaboration. Can't do it by yourself. And if you are not a good collaborator, I don't think you'll be successful. So I hope there's an emphasis on soft skills like communication, leadership, working with people. That is a skill, as I've come to find. So that's where I hope it goes.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I also would add I think there's going to be a shift more toward two things. First is shorter, more specific, detailed, single topical area focus. So instead of learning about ankle injuries, learning about one specific, very, type of ankle injury and or whatever it may be. I think that those short nuggets of didactic education is really where people have leaned into for the last few years. So, we'll continue to look at that. And then, I think I'm a big proponent of the BCSO. I for a few reasons. First of all, I think that certifications, additional certifications, specialty certifications, is what the profession needs to move to validate some of the areas that we're in that are uniquely focused and maybe require additional training or expertise than the entry-level athletic trainer may have. And so I see that the BCSO is just the first salvo in that. And so I think we as a society need to and continue to focus on delivering content to prepare athletic trainers to be prepared for that certification, but also be able to maintain that certification. And then as other certifications come to bear, I think we have to continue to react and innovate to align with those certification opportunities, both in preparation and maintenance. And I think we do that. I know that the BCSO has been slowly adopted, but I think it's been slowly adopted, only because, like anything new, you need to be able to validate that there's value in the certification. And I think we're slowly starting to see that value, and we're probably not very far away from seeing that inflection point where, there you're going to see a significant number of people spend the time and resources in getting that certification because the value has now eclipsed the effort being put into it. And I will say, I came from a hospital prior to community where we did pay our athletic trainers who got the BCSO certification more, just like we pay a nurse who got additional certification more. So, I think when that starts to happen more consistently, we'll see, more of those certifications kind of come to pass. And, we need to make sure that we are staying, working with the BOC in parallel to make sure we're delivering that content.
I like it. One I didn't mention before, but I'm just kind of curious as you guys are in education, what has been the most influential resource you found in your career? Could be anything.
I think I have to say other people. I think just like identifying, and I don't mean identifying mentors not in a way where I message Aaron on LinkedIn and I ask him to be my mentor. I think it's about networking and finding someone that you can learn from and not being afraid to go to that person and say like, "Hey, Aaron, I have questions." So like I am going to be currently personally up for a new role shortly here, and I'm gonna have a million questions for Aaron. And I know that he's going to be able to answer my questions in a way that he knows me both personally and professionally, and it's because we've developed a relationship, over the last several years. I constantly think like I ended up here because Jen liked a talk I gave 15 years ago. And she said, "Hey, I think you could like be a part of this committee." And I thought, "Oh, not me." But those are some of the strongest professional and personal relationships I have. And I've learned so much from those people. So I have to think it's other people in the profession and outside of.
I actually completely agree with you. And I do a lot of mentoring, and I have somebody who's my mentor. It's having that relationship is important, but athletic training is really unique. And when we have a board meeting, I look around the table, and these are people that I've known for a very long time, many of which never knew me as an athletic trainer because I've been out of clinically practicing for that long. But to see the wealth of knowledge and expertise in that room is amazing. I learn a lot from them. Uh, and it's a group that will keep you grounded. Do you know Forrest Pekka, Joel?
I
You know,
know the name, but I don't
uh,
know.
if there's anybody who'll ever keep you grounded, it's Foe. He's very
Yeah.
good at grounding you. But that group between him and Mike, our past president, and Jen and all those. I mean, Kevin, they've been around for a long time, and there's such a wealth of information that it's such a unique group. And you can learn a lot from that group very quickly. If I have a question, I can send a
Mhm.
text out and I have an answer in 5 seconds probably with real insight. And I think we can go to a conference and we can take 1,000 CEUs or we can read 10,000 books, but to have that level of expertise, available to you is amazing. I gotta tell you, our membership is the same way. There's one of our speakers from, I think she's from New Orleans, has given a talk a couple years in a row around oncology, and I met her, I think, as a fellow, or maybe before she became a resident, whatever. And I listened to her, and she's, I don't know, probably 25 or 26. I'm not quite twice that age, but I'm not far from it. And the level of expertise that she and the other membership have, they're up on the podium, is crazy. It's really shocking to me that an athletic trainer is that knowledgeable about things 20 years ago when I was finishing school would have never ever been part of a curriculum. So it's a really interesting group, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it because I get to feel smart even though I'm not that smart in a group of really smart people.
Okay.
You guys may have kind of answered this on the, where do you see education going in the next 5 to 10 years? But just to maybe drill it down a little bit more, if you could change or eliminate one thing that you've seen in some of the education things, just snap your fingers and boo, it's gone or changed, what would that be?
So one of the things I would change is in people's personal practice when it comes to getting their CEUs. And I've definitely been guilty of this as a younger professional, just to check the box, right? And to
Nope.
be like, oh, it's December 1st and I need 20, I'm going to watch 15 Tommy John surgery rehabilitation, and I work in lower extremity.
Sure.
So I think getting away from just checking the box and continuing education just to do it and
Yep.
go through the motions, and really looking at where do I want to go with my career and being intentional about the courses and classes and programs that you take in order to actually be a better professional, which I think was the intention behind requiring athletic trainers to continue their education. It's not just so you can say that you watched 15 hours worth of Zoom presentations.
And I've never done that ever in my career. Have I ever done that? But I will say,
Never stayed up to
yeah,
do it. Nope.
not December 30th, and yeah,
No,
never.
no.
I have heard of sites crashing from people trying to get all their
Yeah.
stuff in
Yeah, they have.
at the end.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
I,
yeah.
Yeah.
I would just add one little wrinkle to that, and that is, I agree completely with that. I'd also say if there's a way to be able to take what you learned today and immediately apply it the next day. I mean, we all like get excited, we learn
Hmm.
stuff, and then we have a weekend, we go home, we forget about it Monday because we had to check 10,000 emails, and then later in the week, we think about it but never really get back to implementing it. I don't know. There's got to be a way, and maybe people have figured it out. I surely haven't, of being able to actually immediately implement the things that I've learned at these conferences. And I think there's some things that lend itself more to others. But I don't know what the magic juice is there, but would love to find it.
And then the last question before we just get down to contact information. What does being an athletic trainer mean to you?
Man, I think the definition has probably changed within the last couple years as I moved away from practicing clinically. Um, I think I think one of the things is like being adaptable, being flexible, being able to be a collaborator. I think the society has given me personally just an avenue to continue being connected to the profession and a way to give back to others. Like I said, I think I've learned the most from other people, even on our board, on committees I've served with, and to be able to do that for the membership from a perspective of strategy has been really rewarding for me.
Yeah, I would say you're probably the smartest, most well-rounded person in the room and get the least amount of accolades for those two traits. I know that you know,
Thank you.
you hire somebody who's an athletic trainer, right away you're going to get somebody who's going to do an amazing job, even if they don't know anything about the job on day one. On day two, they will find ways to innovate because that's what the education around athletic training is. That's the clinical experience exposure that we get. It's just such a unique training experience. It's such a unique body of knowledge. But most importantly, you take all of those healthcare things and you put them in a super competitive thing like sports, and you have these really unique traits. And so while we often as athletic trainers want to put ourselves in a box, I'm a professional sports athletic trainer, I'm a
Hmm.
college athletic trainer, I'm a athletic trainer in a physician practice setting. uh, those only describe where you're using those skills, but the skills that athletic trainers have is absolutely unparalleled. I've in my career been incredibly fortunate to work with some amazing athletic trainers who have worked in neurosurgery and neurology. I had one that worked in ENT and was the most beloved athletic trainer I've ever seen. I've had, I know one running I work with now runs our primary care and GI service line at the a corporate level of a 12 hospital health system. I know athletic trainers running practices. I know athletic trainers who are athletic directors. I know athletic trainers who are, running well-known large strength and conditioning programs. So the profession is so flexible that I just hope that young athletic trainers or even senior people like me will remember that and not be afraid of doing something different, because you're going to fit just about anywhere.
Awesome.
Well said.
Really appreciate both of those takes. Just to wrap up, if you want to plug the conference, obviously do that. But then if people want to reach out or connect with you, what would be the best place for them to do so?
Yeah, so the conference is going to be in Louisville, Kentucky. It's February 20th is our workshop day. The 21st and 22nd are the two conference days. There's still a few hotel rooms available, I believe. Registration will be accepted all the way up into at the actual conference. So some people, believe it or not, will book hotel and flights and show up without actually registering, but we'll take them too. And some of the workshops may close out before then, but would love to have you join us. For me, through my ATPPS email is Aaron, AARON.HAJART@ATPPS.org. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me, well, probably just LinkedIn. I don't really use anything else anymore, but I would love to connect. I love athletic training and love athletic trainers. So anything I can ever do for the profession, I try to.
And I think as of last week, we were down to about 60 seats for annual conference. So if you are coming, definitely secure your seat. And like Aaron said, the labs usually close earlier than general registration. So based on your flight, I think it's so worth it to come in just a tiny bit earlier to have that hands-on session. You're there anyway. You might as well get the extra CEUs, and it's not a ridiculous expense for those labs for hands-on practice that you really don't get at other conferences. Find us. My ATPPS email is the same. So first.lastname Tara.Saprano@atpps.org. And I'm also probably easiest to find on LinkedIn.
And remember, DME, if you want to get your DME
launches tomorrow.
Certificate launch tomorrow, or because we're going to be in the future, in the past, launched last week.
Available now.
We'll
have a link to it in the description.
Yeah,
so
we can provide that.
Join us in Louisville so that you can get to do the hands-on and then see some dueling pianos and maybe some bourbon. Who knows?
There you go. Well, thank you both for taking the time and just highlighting everything you do from the educational side. Looking forward to getting this out, and encourage everybody, at least check out the website. There's a ton of information on there. It's very well put together, easy to find things, so check that out. But thank you both again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Athletic Training Chat with the Athletic Trainer and Physician Practice Society, and really the deep dive into the educational aspect of everything. We really really appreciate the time being taken to share all of that, highlight the work that they're doing, and really, if you're in the physician practice setting, it is an unbelievable resource in what they're doing to focus on to help advance it and really take it to the next level as another option for athletic trainers to provide the amazing care that we do, along with a lot of the other benefits that can come along with working in that setting. So really appreciate them taking the time. Again, if you're looking to maybe attend their annual meeting, it's coming up in just under a month. We reference all the things that they're offering in here that are out, so check that out. But really a great organization and all the work they do. If you're interested in journaling, check out the Athletic Training Daily Journal either on Amazon or check out the free 14-day trial at clinicallypress.org/shop and find it there. Download it for free, no payment, information needed. We appreciate you checking out. 50% of all proceeds go to our work with Clinically Press Co. to donate cold tubs to those who couldn't otherwise obtain them. Thanks again for listening.